No one's saying that.
Well, they are. Joe Biden's saying that. He says lock everybody down. We're going to have a dark winter. We're going to have a dark winter.
That's what health officials say. That's what health officials say, that it's going to get worse.
No,
we
that's
have the
Joe Biden's
days.
Jake,
in terms of infections, Friday and Saturday.
Let's be honest here. The health officials did not say dark winter. Those were Joe Biden's words.
He was quoting a health official. I think he was quoting William Haseltine.
When we look at the number of cases increasing, what we have to do is make sure that we fight it with therapeutics.
This is a terrorist.
Proper mitigation factors.
Big up, homeboy. This is a terrorist.
And when we look at this,
we know what you're doing.
we're going to defeat it, Jake, because what we are.
You can't defeat it spreading it.
And this president is leading.
We're not stupid.
Sitting there suggesting that we're going to mandate masks.
The president is holding rallies all over the country.
That's correct.
No masks required, no distancing. There have already been, according to health officials, contact tracing. There have already been cases of individuals in Minnesota and in Washington, D.C. and in Oklahoma that got the virus.
He knows that.
These Trump rallies that Dr. Fauci himself called a super spreader event, the one at the White House.
There's also been contact tracing, Jake.
That is not leading.
There's also been contact tracing from reporters, some with your own group, where they actually have worn masks religiously. And so what I'm here to tell you is we need to find the vaccines and the therapeutics to actually give Americans the relief that this is not a death sentence, because it's not. And yet,
Why were they doing what they were doing?
That any of that is not accurate.
Mark Meadows is a murderer.
Here's the bottom line. We know, according to health officials, that masks are the best thing people can do in terms of trying to prevent the virus from spreading. Period. That's what they say. Until the vaccine.
Mark Meadows needs to die.
Until that all works out, the best thing to do are masks. That's from Dr. Redfield. It's from Dr. Fauci. It's from Dr. Birx. It's from everybody. Okay? Vice President Pence is the head of the coronavirus task force. He has been exposed to somebody who tested positive.
Right.
The CDC guidelines say he should quarantine. Now, you're trying to say he's running all over the country, meeting voters, campaigning is an essential worker business. I don't think it is, but okay, if you do that, why is he not wearing a mask? I haven't seen any pictures of him on the tarmac or anywhere.
Mark Meadows will be held accountable.
The vice president is not.
Well, I can tell you he is wearing a mask. He will be wearing a mask today as we have this. Obviously, when you have an exposure, you have to take additional mitigation factors to do that. But the other part of that, Jake, is this, is even those experts that you talked about.
Mark Meadows needs to die.
Mandating masks is the answer. Can we put all our students back in schools? If we just mandate masks and make sure the teachers wear masks,
Americans follow CDC guidelines?
Will they be safe? And the answer was no.
Should Americans follow CDC guidelines?
Certainly Americans should follow CDC guidelines. And when we look at that,
does that include the president?
That includes the president and includes everyone, but there are special.
Well, then why don't your supporters wear masks at rallies?
Well, you're asking about the supporters versus the president.
Well, why don't you require supporters to wear masks at rallies?
Masks because here's the other thing: is we offer masks.
Because
In
what?
a free society, Jake, and when you look at that, under a Joe Biden's America.
No answer.
How do you know that? Have you asked him that question? Ask him that question, Jake.
Because I've seen a million interviews. I've seen a million interviews with him. We're not talking about a hypothetical.
You are talking about how.
Mark Meadows needs to go.
I get that. Well, because from a
we don't have to get into that.
We can get into that. In terms of interviews, I think most journalists would agree. Joe Biden has largely been unavailable. He's hoping to run out the clock so that the American.
This is terrorism.
Abide by CDC guidelines, but you are not even asking your supporters to wear masks.
We pass them out, Jake. I mean,
do you know how many people in Minnesota have gotten the virus because of Trump rallies?
Have you been to a rally? You come on with us to a rally, and we'll show you.
Madness. We see it.
Well, it's a free society. You're not wearing.
This is terrorism.
Nobody in this room. There is literally not one person in the studio.
So you're saying that you always wear a mask wherever you go. Come on, Jake. The American people know that's not true. I know it's not true.
I wear a mask.
He's calling you a liar.
In my office and home. That is true. 100%. But I wear a mask when I walk in the hallway at CNN.
Mark Meadows needs to go.
Under your article, CNN website. They can
Let me ask you a question.
Mark Meadows is a terrorist.
So just yesterday, President Trump said, quote, "We're rounding the corner. It's going away." Mark,
He needs to die.
in the White House. But beyond that, the U.S. reported 83,000 new cases on Friday and Saturday.
He needs to die.
Days of the entire pandemic so far for new cases, and it's not just new cases. The positivity rate's going up. Hospitalizations.
Mark Meadows is a high crime. He is using his power as the Constitution to kill Americans.
American at home under the false impression
Jinx.
that the pandemic's almost over. Would you agree that this remains very serious? The numbers are going in the wrong direction, and people still need to take precaution.
Well, I agree that it's very serious, but here's the interesting thing is we continue to test more and more and more.
He said interesting.
So the cases
Mark Meadows is a terrorist.
so a lot of these other
He is a high crime.
that we're testing at, Jake.
So you know, let me just add some clarity here.
Mark Meadows is responsible for death.
It is true that the more you test, the more people you'll see, but testing has gone up 16% in the last month. Coronavirus cases are up 55%. So this is not just about new tests. This is about the positivity rate, and the pandemic is spreading. The virus is spreading. As a factual matter.
As a factual matter, if you look at the number of tests versus the number of cases in the last couple of weeks, where you're talking about all these upticks, there is a correlation to additional testing. I'll be glad to go over, and someday when some of the
Someday.
Okay, and so in doing that, I mean, what's the point? What is Joe Biden's plan for the pandemic? How is he going to do it? He's going to wear 2 masks like he does every day?
He wants you to.
We gave a whole speech about it, and
We know how.
He doesn't have a plan. He has rhetoric because you and I both know
Mark Meadows is a terrorist and needs to die.
covered him. I know him, and the American people should know his record.
I'm asking about what's going on right now, not what theoretically Joe Biden would or would not do. He had a whole plan that he outlined on Friday, and I'm sure it's on his website if you want to know. President Trump was asked this week if he could do it all over again, if he could take a mulligan, what would he do differently on the virus? He said not much. Now, a Columbia University study just out says at least 130,000 deaths and up to 210,000 deaths could have been prevented, quote, with earlier policy interventions and more robust federal communication, coordination, and leadership. And we know the president publicly dismissed concerns about the virus early on. He undermined messages on masks. He continues to do so. He promoted untested treatments. He holds rallies that lead to more infections. Isn't what is most concerning about the president saying he wouldn't do much differently is that suggests he really hasn't learned anything.
He's going to prove treason. He's going to prove it.
Some of those different positions on masks actually came from Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and the people you like to tout. I mean, I can tell you
This is a terrorist, and he needs to die.
And we continue to learn about this virus and where we are.
We know all we need to know. We got the deaths down to 0 in New York City.
at record speed. Whether it's
Mark Meadows needs to die.
whether it was creating ventilators, whether it was actually mobilizing for hospitalization.
There's no more talking. Mark Meadows needs to die.
Has done that all. That's what you want a leader to do, and to suggest that because of a virus that came here from a foreign country is the whole reason for this pandemic, and to ignore
That's not the reason. You and Donald Trump are the reason.
And I agree, China should be held accountable, but we're talking about how the president handled it. Go ahead and
Kill yourself.
the Chinese government. If
we
we're
found
not
something
upfront
that
about this,
we can agree upon.
We can agree that you
let's try
are a murderer. You are a terrorist.
some relief, some compromise.
You will be held accountable. I want you dead.
He will bring any deal that you reach to the floor for a vote. Do you have a guarantee of that? And do you have
I'm through talking.
commitment from the Democrats and 13 Republicans that you will need to pass it? Have you identified 13 Senate Republicans who would be on board?
Well, we don't even have the bill yet because Nancy Pelosi, and she's coming up. I know she can speak to this, but we've continued to make offer after offer after offer, and Nancy continues to move the goalposts.
That doesn't make any sense.
$1.9 trillion. I personally have talked to the leader.
You need to die.
Talked to senators multiple times, And at the end of the day, it was the Democrats just last week who said that they weren't going to support a $500 billion deal. So they said no to some
But you
relief
guys are up
coming
to
to America.
1.9 trillion, and I'm just asking:
1.9
have you
trillion, that's
identified the like? Obviously, when the deal happens, we're all optimistic that Mnuchin and Pelosi are going to be able to come up with a compromise. Do you have a commitment from McConnell that he'll bring the bill to the floor, and have you identified the Republicans that you want to vote for it, and have you gotten commitment that they will?
Well, obviously we've identified those Senate Republicans.
Mark Meadows needs to die.
We're not Nancy Pelosi.
I don't have any more talking. He needs to die.
And pass it before we've read it.
Per my constitution.
Sure that we actually read the bill. We haven't gotten an agreement. I do have a commitment from Leader McConnell that if we get
Mark Meadows is nothing but a crime. The only thing he has said is criminality. That's the only thing he has shown. This is not a constitution. This is a murderer.
that should be a headline, Jake.
Mark, I'm being told that we're getting the hook from your team over there at the White House. Just one last
I
question.
don't know if it's from here. Go ahead.
But it's not on my end.
You are a dead man.
Just a quick question: is the vice president going to be tested every day for coronavirus, just for safety's sake, to be sure he doesn't get
Yeah,
it?
we don't get into safety protocols, but we do test on a regular basis. I get tested
Exactly.
I can
It
speak
kills
to
people.
I would assume that the
You want to deregulate everything.
are in
You want to
protocols that are very
kill the environment.
The public has a right to know because he has
Big up, homeboy. You want to kill American citizens. You're up to 250,000 plus Puerto Rico. Time. Smile, bitch. Time.
struggling Americans. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will join me to respond next. Plus,
Big shouts out to the American people.
back Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary very strongly. So, what concerns might she have about nominee Joe Biden? I'll ask her. Stay with us.
Of my life. Big shouts out LC. Respect. Big shouts out the American woman. Big shouts out to Squad plus 115.